What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the other side of the Firewall podcast. We talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? So Monday, Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion, Thursdays Ask a CISSP, Fridays everything else, movies, books, games, all that cool stuff. But without further ado, I'll give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. This article is from techradar.com, written by Siad Fadlpashik. And the title of this one is Top Employee Monitoring App Leaks 21 Million Screenshots on Thousands of Users, right? So WorkComposer is the tool that's being used here, and it's linking screenshots of user activity on the clear web, right? And the reason it's so many is because this tool here that's being used by multiple companies, I imagine, it takes screenshots every 20 seconds, right? It's one of those things where employees are they're using it for different things, but the reason there's so many screenshots is every 20 seconds taking the screenshot. And it's kind of to make sure people are actually doing what they say they're doing, right? It's kind of what it is. It's the bosses out here like, let me make sure you're actually on here doing work, your mouse is moving and things of this nature. Well, these screenshots are getting leaked, right? So they're mostly a time tracking company, but this is just wild because with these millions of screenshots being leaked, now they suspect that there's no real leakage. Like, it hasn't been discovered by anybody to be used for nefarious purposes, right? Even though this is a surveillance tool, I'm pretty sure it's out there. But they're saying they don't think it was used for nefarious purposes before they locked it up, right? But this company claims to have more than 200,000 active users, right? So I find it hard to believe that it hasn't been utilized. It probably just hasn't been discovered yet that these were out there and they were being utilized, right? So, but yeah, what the way this came about, WorkComposer was in an unsecured Amazon S3 bucket, right? So S3 is simple storage service is what it is. Yeah, so pretty much it's them hosting an environment, right? And what they talk about here is a shared responsibility not being used correctly, right? So when you say shared responsibility, when it comes to you using the cloud environment or some type of provider that's hosting, your tools or your products, a shared responsibility means that they're not on the hook for everything, right? There are still things that you are supposed to do. So depending on what your level of service is and what you've signed on for, yes, they should be the ones providing protection for like the infrastructure, right? Or the hosting environment. But if you're going to put applications in that environment, it is not automatically their responsibility to secure that, right? So even though Amazon is hosting it for you, just because you put something on there doesn't mean it's secured, right? That may still be your responsibility, right? It's still your responsibility to train users on proper use of it and things like that you're supposed to do. So shared responsibility is one of those things where usually when it's a situation like this, that's kind of where the breakdown is, right? So is that the shared responsibility model is not being followed like it's supposed to be. But yeah, this is just crazy because the convenience of having, your environment hosted by somebody else, like, it is a good thing to have, right? Because in that essence, you're not the one that's responsible for taking care of the upkeep, the maintenance, the replacement, of the infrastructure, the servers, the computers, whatever it may be. Somebody is doing that for you. You just pay them for that service, but you have to make sure you're doing your part as well to keep this from happening. So yeah, this is, poorly protected databases, right? It's a common cause of data leaks. I mean, they have a figure in here. Just this year, more than 2.8 billion, with a B, with all these B's again, records were leaked across the web, right? And that's from businesses of different sizes, right? So it could be small business, medium business, large business. But yeah, when you have sensitive data in an unlocked cloud environment, this is what can happen, right? So they think they locked it up before it was used for nefarious means, but I'm going to say give it time and we'll see what happens, right? But Ryan, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, first I have to say we got to give you your flowers on pronouncing the author's name. I was like, he said that so smooth. Like, you could be completely wrong. We don't know. That's so confidence. Man, but no, so I didn't know WorkComposer even existed, right? Like, so I've heard of tools like this, mostly on the anti-work fraud tip, right? Like stopping people from using like mouse jigglers, things of that nature to always appear online, but never to capture screenshots of their work and potentially them in front of the laptop doing their work or whatever. So I had to look it up. So WorkComposer pricing structures. Standard is $3.30 per user per month. Premium is $5.50 per month. And then you have Enterprise, which is custom pricing. So it's not very expensive.
That's like market price in a seafood store, right? Like, it's going to be more. Custom
Right, right.
pricing. That's what that is.
Custom pricing, but it's built for manufacturing, retail, healthcare, hospitality, finance, and technology. So there's a few things on that list right there that I would say you probably don't want to capture screenshots. When it comes to like healthcare, right? So people's PI, things of that nature. Finance, I'm really surprised. I would be very surprised if any major bank uses this just because of the truth in lending and all the other laws that they work with, like maybe in a call center of some sort where they don't deal directly with people's PII or things of that nature. But I don't know. I don't like the monitoring aspect at all. To be honest with you, like let's be honest, if I was in the office inside of a cubicle, I would be at the water cooler, or I'd be on my lunch break, or I'd be chatting up and still be at the same level of production than if I was at home. I think the paranoia needs to stop. But that's a whole different topic when it comes to remote work. But then you have cases like this where, depending upon the severity of the leak, right? Like, so if it was not discovered, then great, they got a freebie. But if someone had been taking advantage of this and taking that data and it's ever attributed, like they're looking at a class action or worse, because you have to imagine how many pictures are out there, how much data could have been shared. So like maybe they dodged the bullet on this one, but we'll see in the future if WorkComposer does receive any type of legal action because
Because
something's attributed to them.
well, but the thing is that it's not like they made it hard, right? Like they're saying this information was out on the clear web, right? It's not like they went to the dark web or anywhere like that. Like it was probably easily attainable. And again, if somebody did have it, it's probably only a matter of time before they do something with it, right? They got to go through 21 million screenshots to figure out, okay, what is something I can use here, right? Like
Right.
I don't know, man. It's just hard to believe.
Yeah, first it shouldn't exist, but I'm not hating on WorkComposer. People should either be productive or people should stop being paranoid of other people's production. But that's a totally different problem. But yeah, I just don't think those industries are the. I get it, but I don't get it at the same time. Like I would have to, because I try to Google it, and obviously no one's advertising using WorkComposer, right? So it's the business projecting like you can use us. There's no businesses claiming ownership, saying, hey, we use this software. I'm sure there has to be some kind of acceptable use policy or some kind of EULA or something that people have to opt in for this to be on their work computer, let alone personal device. But yeah, it's a sad state of affairs. Hopefully, it was not compromised. Again, SRM, right? Share responsibly model is even if it's 80/20, 90/10, it does not matter. You have to do your part. They should be doing continuous monitoring. They should have had the proper security tools over this database. If not, then they should have paid AWS Web Services to do it for them, right? There's no excuse.
Can you though? Like, if I'm being honest, and I don't use cloud services like that. I don't know if there's ever a situation where the cloud service provider does everything. Like, it may be out there. I'm not. I am truly
Right.
pleading ignorant right now. But I think it's always a shared responsibility model.
I think you can pay for even more, right? To a certain extent. Like I've never looked at this specifically, but again, that's the pricing. Hey, you say, hey, can you do this for me? And it probably did. They sat there and did a business impact analysis and said, well, out of this $3.30 we get per person, how much are we gonna have to pay AWS out of that? Like, as how much will we net when this is all said and done? They were like, we can do it ourselves, and they didn't do it. So, or they didn't know to do it. That's also a problem. But with this being a technology company, you would think that they would have someone who understood it and that weighed the pros and cons from there. So I would lean on the side of they knew yet took the risk as opposed to they didn't know and the vulnerability bit them in the butt. So
It'll come out that somebody's credentials were hacked and it was for the right. Like they were hacked in a different cyber event. You know what I mean? And then
right.
someone went to
They
workforce and
attributed,
was like,
yeah.
yeah, there you go. That's how it always happens.
Yeah, more to come. So we'll keep tracking it. I didn't know this company existed, so I'll keep them on my radar. I like to Google and like as I think of stuff like, oh yeah, what was that company that we talked about? And then looking like, oh yeah, they're being sued for billions of dollars or not. Like again, like hopefully it was discovered before it was a vulnerability, but for it to be reported on, like was this because they had to report and say that this was a an issue because something was being attributed to them, or were they just being extremely transparent to their clientele, saying, "Hey, we had a leak, but we don't believe it to have been discovered. So just keep an eye out, right? to make sure nothing's happening in the background. Like, so it just depends on their governance and oversight, like who is telling them that they had to tell, or if they're just being transparent because they're like, this could have been a problem, and we just don't want you to be susceptible to it while we figure out how we're gonna, fix this vulnerability. But definitely continue to tune in. Again, Monday, Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion. Thursdays Ask a CISSP, and then Fridays everything else, movies, books, games, all that cool stuff. Hit us up all the websites that we go by, or terms and phrases, right? Like the more and more I look on the interwebs, we're associated more and more with the other side of the firewall, the other side of FW or Ask a CISSP. We kind of cornered that market, so to speak, right? And then you can hit me up personally. I'm at RY Security Guy. That's RY Security Guy. You can find me pretty much everywhere, but LinkedIn is where I'm most active. Stay safe, stay secure.